The U.S. ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra, he was out today speaking about the collapse in Canada-U.S. trade talks. While appearing at the Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters Conference, Hoekstra was asked if there is hope of those talks resuming.
I've got suggestions that I think can get it restarted, but it's not going to be easy. Canada wants to insert itself and create a new precedent that you're going to participate in our electoral politics through advertising targeting the President of the United States and his policies. I would suggest that you seriously consider whether that is the best way to try to achieve your objectives in the United States of America.
So, Sherelle, very clear. No more ads, please. And the other thing the ambassador said in the conversation is Canada needs to try to insert itself into the lowest tariff bucket that's out there. And he pointed to the deal with the UK, which is a baseline of 10%, which is a heck of a move from NAFTA.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, what do you even say about some of the things that the ambassador says? Every time. Obviously, he's singing from the Trump songbook. These are things that we've heard before. You know, when those ads initially came out by the Ontario government, that after initially not being too bothered by it, somebody got in his ear, and he's quickly switched his tune to talking about it being some sort of interference with the Supreme Court decision about the tariffs. Which, to be fair, the majority of the tariffs that we aren't even ones that are, well, there's some of them, the reciprocal tariffs and the IEEPA tariffs. And
it's such a web of them now, it's almost impossible to follow the plot, right?
But the point is that, UK is not happy with the deal that they got. Nobody is really happy with the deal that they ended up with when they kind of rushed to sign on that dotted line with Donald Trump. We're in an environment where tariffs seem to be the way forward. Mark Carney, as Prime Minister, has acknowledged this. But we do have a deal, and that is the trade deal that is going to be renegotiated. You cannot keep kicking this can down the road, and that is basically what I think everybody wants to do right now. They want to say, well, just be happy, just be thankful that this is what you've got, and you want to try to get to this point, but nobody can really be that happy because he keeps trying to move away from the 51st state comments and all the other things that the president has said that to undermine the economic relationship with Canada. And you cannot just keep coming back to, but we have tariffs and that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah, and Jono, he on the ad stuff with Ontario, the ambassador said this, to their knowledge, and I have no means of contradicting it or confirming it. He said this has never happened before in the history of the United States, that a foreign government bought an ad to try to influence politics out there. I have no idea if that's true or not. It's not foreign interference. That's because it's not covert.
I was going to say
it's foreign influence. It is foreign no, it's influence when you lobby, right? But what do you make of what he had to say there? In that it feels like they're pretty upset with what Ontario did, whether that was Trump's initial response or not. And 10% sounds like the best Canada can hope for, based on what the ambassador said today.
He sounded much calmer than the last couple of times he's talked about the ad or anything to do with all the mistakes we've made and all these evil choices we've taken. But, so, okay, we understand. The ad not going over well. Don't do it again, probably good path to follow. But on the 10%, on tariffs in general, should we be negotiating? Should we be banging on the door, begging to be heard? Again, we're in a very tough situation. Tons of jobs are being lost. We're dealing with industries that are being killed, but it is much worse in pretty much every other country. And those that made a deal, as Sherelle points out, they're not happy with those deals. Why? Steel's not included, auto's not included. If we made a deal where most stuff is CUSMA compliant and then covered, and didn't include steel and aluminum and auto and lumber, then what's the deal for? What are we gaining? So right now, the status quo, as bad as it is, could be only worse. Better is unlikely. Is 10% good? No, it's terrible compared to what other alternatives are. If you included steel and aluminum and everything, maybe we'll have to live with that in the short and medium term, but at least we'd have some clarity. But I don't think that's right now. It's on the table.
Yeah.
So right now we're just sort of waiting.
And Tim, I don't get the sense the government of Canada wants to drag this thing on, but I also don't think they want to rush anything until they know what the Supreme Court is going to say and how Congress is going to react to whatever the Supreme Court brings down.
And why should they at this juncture, right? I mean, it is annoying with Pete Hoekstra. I mean, it's the first time in living memory that I can think of the U.S. representative more portraying himself as the cranky uncle than the effective diplomat. I mean, you go back and look at the time, 2003, 2004, around George Bush going to Iraq and that war beginning. Paul Cellucci, who was the American representative here, very close to the administration, as close as Pete Hoekstra, if not closer, never behaved in this particular manner. And look, I think we do have to give voice to the fact that it's still frustrating for Canadians. He is sitting there saying, "Oh no, you shouldn't run ads during U.S. electoral times." Well, it's perpetuating electoral time in the U.S.
Yeah, that's true.
How do we feel in Canada? And he says he doesn't get this every time Trump mentions the 51st state. So you know what? It's the cranky uncle mode. I think we have to understand his role is not to facilitate anything for Canada or the United States. It's to please the president. I don't think he's hidden too much that is the fact. I think the other thing, David, with all of this too is, let time work on our side right now. Let Trump get through what he has. The other thing that Hoekstra did today, I guess, in Canada for a few minutes, which his boss probably is happy about, took a little bit of coverage off Trump's abhorrent behavior yesterday towards a couple of media members.
Yeah, they put out, I printed it off because I need to read it all. It's like a litany of complaints about ABC News. It's not journalism. It's a Democratic spin operation masquerading as a broadcast network, and they're threatening to strip the broadcast license. Nothing like that from the ambassador today, Brad, though he did say that the Canadian media sometimes takes his comments out of context and he's not happy with the coverage. And, fair enough, and the ambassador is welcome to come on and we will not edit the interview. I promise you that. But Brad, your thoughts on this? If 10% is presented as a best case scenario, that's not a great case scenario, right? When you look at the damage where we are now has done just on the sectoral stuff.
I think it's important to keep an eye on what they're trying to do. A number of months ago, they were saying there's always going to be tariffs. And then Prime Minister Carney and others in cabinet said, you know what, Canada, we're going to have to live with some tariffs. Now he's starting to set what those tariffs, what the new floor might be, or the new ceiling might be. So it's all about an expectations game. In order to ensure that when we get to a deal, as bad as it is compared to what we've had in the past, we're going to say, well, at least it wasn't as bad as they talked about, right? So even if 10% is the case, in 4, 6, 8 months from now, when things are maybe perhaps a bit more settled, we're going to be happy with, or maybe say 8's a victory, when in fact we used to have much lower than that. So I take the point that the situation in Canada is better than most of Americans' trading partners. This is all about expectations and setting where we should feel whether either hurt or lost. Just quickly, David, on the point about Canada having ads in the United States, I don't know if this has ever happened before, nor do I think that that's the most important thing he said. What I think he was saying when he said, don't ever do that again, was saying that you really got under the president's skin. You really hit the nose. Most of the way in which Trump deals with foreign leaders and their trading partners is you fly in, there's a whole bunch of meetings, you sit down in the yellow chairs, and you pat each other on the back and you say, you ate a bunch of tariffs, good for you, now go away. But the minute you start taking the case of Canada, not just to the back rooms, and I respect the fact that those meetings have to take place, Minister LeBlanc and others have to take place, but the minute you start taking it to the people, particularly in people in Republican states where it matters to him, the minute you get them going, wait a minute, is Trump really doing something that Ronald Reagan didn't like, questioning some of his motivations on a controversial issue like tariffs? The minute you did that, you've got not only Trump, but you've got his spokespeople in other countries saying, don't ever do that again. And that, to me, suggests a weak spot within MAGA, and another reason why the ads were good, because he doesn't also accept weakness, right? He respects strength. And if we didn't do anything We can debate the ads all for the rest of the show. But if we don't do anything, we also know that he doesn't like weakness, and we can't show that because I don't think we are.
Well, look, the Epstein stuff has shown a whole bunch of weakness
Yes.
inside MAGA, and
Precisely.
increasingly you got to show up with gifts. It seems like the Swiss.
But where
show up
did
with a
where did
clock
that
and a
pressure on
gold bar.
Epstein come from? Where did that pressure? It came from Republicans.
Yes,
Not from the back rooms.
Republicans that he sort of helped empower and create in the early days of that movement.
Precisely.